Roger Whitehead back with you here. We're getting closer to the D-Day, or E-Day really, Election Day, which we all know is the responsibility of every American to get out and vote. But I wanted to refresh some of the memories. Now I know it won't change any minds of the cult members, and to be very honest, I don't think there's a lot of what they call fence sitters, or people who haven't made up their mind. I tend to believe if you don't know who and what Donald Trump is by now, there's something called attention deficit syndrome. But I'm sure there's not many of those out there. But there are also, I know, a large number, larger than should be, number of cult members who's going to vote for Donald Trump no matter what he does or what he says. He's proved that. He has proved that now for 4 years. His statement that he said he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and not lose a voter. And I don't think that's quite true either, because from what the polls are showing, that people are finally, I think, realizing Trump is who Trump is. But just a refresher, I would like to kind of remind everybody of some of the things that Donald Trump has said and done over the last 4 years. And I really shouldn't have to re-show this, but there's people who are still out there saying, Donald Trump never really said that. That's all fake news. He never said that. Well, I'm going to show you that he actually did say it. And with the clips that I've put together here, it shows Donald Trump for who he really is. And it shows Donald Trump is exactly as the psychologists and the psychiatrists have labeled him.
On November 3rd, Michigan, you better vote for me. I got you so many damn car plants.
Well, let's stop there for a minute. Now, there are two smaller plants that has been announced to start up in Michigan, and they're going to supposedly create 450 jobs. And I tell you, the job market in Michigan, well, I mean, people in Ohio know this too. Manufacturing is really in bad shape. And 450 jobs up in Michigan doesn't not setting the world on fire. As of February 2020, Michigan has lost approximately 2,400 auto and auto parts jobs. February 2020, that was when that reading came out, and they've lost 2,400 jobs. So I don't know that the people up in Michigan should get too excited about Donald Trump's pronouncements. Here's some more of what he had to say.
If I'm elected, you won't lose one plant. You'll have plants coming into this country. You're going to have jobs again. You won't lose one plant, I promise you. The long nightmare of jobs leaving Michigan will be coming to a very rapid end.
It's really sad to hear these comments when we actually know that they're not true. One of the one of the quotes that was written down that Adolf Hitler made to his people, time and time again, were lies. When the narrator said to Adolf, "These things you're telling the people are not true. That's not going to happen." Hitler said, "To get the people to follow, all you have to do is to tell them big lies. Tell it frequently, tell it often. They will believe you." We have to admit that seems to be working for about 35% of the people here in the U.S. We know that since Trump took office, despite his campaign promises, GM closed down 2 major plants in 2018. One of those was a large car plant in Ohio, Lordstown, Ohio. Trump went on television and told all the people, "Don't sell your homes, don't worry about this plant. They're not closing, they're shutting down to retool. They're not going." GM, and this is Trump now, said, "General Motors promised me they're not closing this plant, they're not going anywhere." So if you want to check that out, and you have any friends in Northeast Ohio, call them up. They'll tell you the Lordstown plant closed back in 2018. One of the 2 plants that he talked about being adopted and outfitted to build, one of them is being outfitted and adapted to build electric cars. Now, it's rumored, and please understand this is only a rumor, but that plant is rumored to be in Lordstown, Ohio. And another plant that was cited to be closed, the United Auto Workers went on strike, and they were on strike for 40 days. And that was back in 2019. GM then opened that plant back up again. They're still running on a limited basis, and the other plant, there were 2, remember, and the other plant was retooled and makes face masks. What happens after face masks? I mean, there'll be an end to that, and once it's ended, that plant, there's nothing to say that plant will go back to manufacturing cars. These lies, Trump continues to repeat them. And, like his mentor, Adolf, said, that's how you do it.
They're being built in Ohio. They're being built in South Carolina, North Carolina. They're being built all over and expanded.
There are no new car plants in those states. And that's not fake news. You can check it out. All of those plants that he just listed, that he's having car plants built, no car plants in any of those states. Now that's according to the vice president of the Center of Automotive Research, and I'm pretty sure they pretty much know more about what's going on than Donald Trump. Another thing he claimed about getting a commitment from Shinzo Abe, who's the Prime Minister of Japan, and he said he's going to build 5 new car plants in Michigan. He said he got a commitment from him to build 5 new car plants in Michigan. There's been no public pronouncement to verify that claim. Toyota did make an announcement back in, 19, something like, I think it was 2019, that they were going to invest $749,000 investment in some of its existing plants They're upgrading their existing plants. They're not building new ones. They're upgrading existing plants, and none of those projected investments were plants in Michigan. Actually, if we want to use the government statistics and facts that is put out by the government, in total, he proposed during the 4 years of the Trump administration 5 plants. So I think what we have here is that Toyota said that they're going to upgrade some of their existing plants in the U.S., but none of those that were marked to be upgraded are Michigan plants. So that's not factual. And the 5 Trump says there's 5 new plants. No, they're not new plants. They're upgrades to existing plants. So there's no new workers going there. Actually, if we look at the statistics that go back, auto manufacturing investment was higher during the last 3 years of Obama administration than the first 3 years of the Trump administration. As bad as the Trump cult members like to admit, it was a lot better in the last years of Trump, of Obama, than the first 3 years of Trump. And that's not hyperbole. It's provable facts. And one of the things that we should remember, especially the auto industry, back during the crisis, General Motors, the entire auto industry was going bankrupt. Ford was the only one that wasn't going bankrupt. But the other ones, Chrysler, GM, and the other plants, they were going bankrupt. And Mitt Romney, and his father was big into automotive because at one time he was CEO of American Motors. He's a Carr family member for years and years. Back then, whenever the auto industry hit the brick wall, Mitt Romney and the Republican Party said, let them go bankrupt. The government should not be bailing out industry. Let them go bankrupt. And you would be surprised the number of people who forgot all about that. Well, selective memory. We know there's a lot of people that have that. But they were all for letting the auto industry go bankrupt. And Barack Obama charged his vice president to save the auto industry, to stop the bankruptcy, get them back on their feet. We're not going to let the auto industry go bankrupt. Joe Biden oversaw the resurrection of the car industry during the presidency of Obama. Now, what a lot of people don't realize, it wasn't just, and this, Joe Biden's intelligent enough to know, and so is most people, that the auto industry, as far as making cars, was not Ford, General Motors, Chrysler, Toyota, whoever. It was all the service industry that produces parts for the auto industry. And an example, there was a large plant in Warren, Ohio, not too far from Lordstown, that it was called Packard Electric, and they made wiring harnesses and such for the auto industry. And then a company called Delphi, I believe it was, Delphi bought them out. And Delphi was a company that basically was doing the same thing. They made service parts. They made after parts. They made all kinds of parts for the auto industry. They had 20,000 employees throughout their organization, 5,000 engineers. So there was 25,000 just in one company. That had the auto industry went bankrupt, all those people would have been gone, because, hey, if we're not making cars, you certainly don't need wiring harnesses, distributors, and other car parts. So it wasn't just the car companies, the thousands and thousands of auto workers that would have been put out of work through the bankruptcy, but supporting suppliers. And those are, like I say, U.S., Canada, Mexico. I mean, they would infect, that bankruptcy would have affected hundreds of thousands. Barack Obama, Joe Biden said, no, we can't let the auto industry go into bankruptcy. It would hurt too many people. The Republican Party, let them go bankrupt. So, locals, I'm not going to tell you how to vote. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. But I would suggest, and I honestly solicit, your comments, your thoughts, and that you would take the time and to think the position that you should be taking. Do you vote for Donald Trump, or do you vote for America? The good Lord gave man and woman the right of free choice. The choice is yours. As Hamilton says, you have a republic if you can keep it. So, enough. God bless. Be safe, stay well, and above all, love your brothers and sisters. Goodbye.